You've probably heard the advice before. To win a woman's love, you need to be her problem solver, her 24/7 support system, the guy who caters to her every need. It's the classic story of the knight in shining armor, rushing in to save the damsel from the dragons of her life, her past, or even her own mind. But maybe you've noticed something doesn't quite add up. It's a strange and frustrating paradox, isn't it? The more you try to give, the more she seems to pull away. The more you attempt to fix, the more the connection feels off. You pour everything you have into her cup, only to find yourself running on empty while she still seems unfulfilled. All your effort isn't met with the admiration you expected, but with a kind of subtle, creeping indifference. You were told that if you just treated her right, she'd love you. But the version of you that does everything by the book seems to be the one she loses interest in. What if the path to a genuine, deep and lasting love isn't about fixing her at all? What if it's about having the courage to break the unhealthy patterns between you? Now, hold on. This isn't about breaking her spirit. That's the work of a tyrant, a weak man trying to feel powerful. This is about something much deeper and far more rewarding. It's about being the man who is strong enough to break the frustrating cycles of validation seeking and emotional dependency that can trap both of you. It's about shattering the superficial frames that are suffocating the very intimacy you both want. In this video, I'm going to share how a modern take on Stoic wisdom can help you do just that. Building a love based on genuine growth and mutual respect, not quiet desperation. Let's dive in. Number 1. Why trying to fix her can backfire. First, let's diagnose the problem before we talk about the solution. The impulse to fix a partner often comes from a good place. You see someone you care about struggling, and your instinct is to take their pain away. You become the emotional handyman, the on-call therapist, the project manager of her happiness. You listen for hours, offer solutions, and shift your life around to fit her crises. You do all this thinking it shows your value. You think, if I can solve all her problems, she'll see how much she needs me. She'll have to love me. But here's a potential blind spot. Relationships between equals aren't typically built on one person being the designated problem solver. While support is crucial, when you make your entire existence about solving her issues, you can unintentionally send some damaging messages about yourself. First, it can signal that you don't have a compelling purpose of your own. Your grand mission in life becomes her. A person with a true self-driven purpose is magnetic. Their life has a direction, a North Star that isn't dependent on anyone else's approval. They're on a journey, and that's exciting. A partner is drawn to the idea of joining that adventure. But the fixer's journey is the other person. He orbits her, reflecting her light but generating none of his own. He risks becoming an accessory to her life rather than the architect of his own. Second, it can communicate a lack of self-respect. Constantly giving without limit and tolerating emotional storms without any boundaries aren't always seen as noble sacrifices. Sometimes they're seen as proof that you don't value your own time, energy, or peace of mind. And here's a hard truth. It's difficult for someone to respect a person who doesn't seem to respect themselves. If you treat your own well-being as infinitely negotiable, why should she treat it any differently? Your constant availability can make you an emotional convenience store, always open, but not always valued. This can create a toxic, unspoken deal where you agree to manage her emotions in exchange for love. But you may end up feeling frustrated instead. Your constant help can start to feel like an unspoken judgment, as if you believe she's incapable of handling her own life. She doesn't want a manager, she wants a partner. She doesn't need a savior, she wants a man who inspires her to find her own strength. This is how you can find yourself in the nice guy zone, the one she complains to about the guys who actually excite her. Why? Because that other man, for all his flaws, often presents a challenge. He has his own life. His presence is a choice, not an obligation. As the fixer, your presence can start to feel like an obligation. An attraction struggles to survive under the weight of obligation. You tried to earn her love by fixing her, but in the process you may have just fixed yourself into the one role she'll never truly desire: the dependable, reliable, and passionless utility. Number 2, what it really means to break the cycle. This brings us back to that provocative word, break. Let's be crystal clear. If you came here looking for a license to be cruel, emotionally manipulative, or to dominate a woman, you're in the wrong place. That isn't strength. It's a fragile mask for deep insecurity. The philosophy we're exploring here, Stoicism, is about cultivating true inner strength, not posturing. To break the cycle, in a Stoic sense, isn't about shattering her spirit. It's about being the immovable object against which unhealthy patterns shatter themselves. You aren't breaking her. You're breaking the frame of the relationship and building a stronger one. This isn't a direct teaching from ancient Stoic texts, but a modern application of their principles to the complexities of relationships. Think about it. A bone that's never stressed becomes brittle. A muscle that's never challenged wastes away. Growth doesn't happen in a padded room of non-stop comfort. It happens at the point of healthy resistance. Your role isn't to create the storm, but to be the lighthouse in the storm she sometimes brings. Your light doesn't stop the waves, but it offers a fixed guiding point back to shore. So, what are we actually breaking? First, we're breaking the pattern of emotional dependency, the unspoken agreement that you are responsible for her happiness. By refusing to play this unwinnable game, you empower her to reclaim ownership of her own feelings, which is a profound gift. Second, we're breaking the cycle of emotional reactivity. That's the chaotic dance where her anxiety triggers your panicked fixing or her anger sparks your frantic apologies. You break this by becoming non-reactive. You introduce a calm, stable center that can absorb pressure without becoming chaotic itself. Third, we're breaking the illusion of the romantic fairy tale, the cultural script that a perfect partner makes life effortless. You break this by embodying Stoic acceptance. You don't run from hardship, you face it with courage, and by your example, you show her that she can too. Finally, you're breaking the ego's grip. The ego loves drama, seeks constant validation, and fears real vulnerability. By not feeding the ego's demands, for endless praise, for someone to blame, for a rescuer, you challenge both of you to connect from a deeper, more authentic place. You break the defensive shell so the real person inside can emerge. This isn't aggression, it's an act of profound love and respect. It's the love of a man who sees her potential, not just her pain. It's the love of a man who respects her enough to challenge her to grow, not just to placate her. Ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca knew that a good life wasn't about avoiding difficulty, but about cultivating inner resilience. You're not there to make her life easy. You're there to inspire her to become someone for whom a difficult life is no match. You don't break her down, you challenge her to rise. Number 3, break reactivity with the Stoic pause. The first and most powerful tool you have is the Stoic pause. This is where the revolution in your relationship can truly begin. To get its power, we have to see the destructive pattern it replaces. Picture a common scene. She comes home from work, clearly upset. The energy in the room shifts instantly. She starts venting about her boss, a coworker, something. Her voice is sharp, her body is tense. This is the trigger. Now, what's the typical untrained response? It usually falls into 2 camps. First, there's the fixer. You should do this. Have you tried that? Here's the solution. He jumps in, trying to solve the problem, thinking that's what's needed. The second is the absorber. He gets anxious right along with her. Her stress becomes his stress. He might get defensive or quiet, his own mood now tanked by hers. Both are forms of reactivity, and both can be disastrous. The fixer often invalidates her feelings by treating them like a simple puzzle to be solved. The absorber just adds his own negative energy to the mix, making it about him. Either way, the pattern is reinforced. Her emotional state dictates the reality for both of you. The Stoic pause is the simple act of creating space between her emotional outburst and your response. It's a conscious choice to not react immediately. In that sacred pause, you reclaim your own mind. So how does it look in practice? She comes home, the storm begins. Instead of leaping in with solutions or absorbing her anxiety, you do something radical. You just stay calm, you breathe, you listen. You hold a space of unwavering, non-judgmental presence. Your inner monologue, guided by Stoic ideas, sounds something like, "Her emotions are not my emotions. This is her experience, and it is external to my own mind. I can be present for her without being consumed by it. My job is not to stop the rain, but to be the shelter." You're not being cold or distant. You are fully present. You might say something simple like, "Wow, that sounds like a really hard day. I'm here." Notice the difference. You're not saying, "Here's what you should do." You're not sighing and saying, "Great, now my night is ruined." You are simply acknowledging her reality without making it your own. You're a steel mirror, not a sponge. What does this do? It breaks the pattern. When you refuse to get swept up in her storm, the storm loses half its energy. Your calm becomes an anchor. For maybe the first time, she's allowed to just feel her emotions without needing you to fix them or react to them. She learns to self-soothe. She learns to process her own feelings. At first, this might feel terrifying to her. It might even make her angry. She could try to escalate to get a reaction. "Don't you even care?" she might ask. This is her ego testing the new frame. Your job is to hold steady. "Of course I care about you. That's why I'm just listening instead of making this about me." By using the Stoic pause, you give her an incredible gift, the chance for real emotional growth. You teach her by example that emotions are like weather, they pass. They don't have to be a 5-alarm fire. You stop being her emotional dumping ground and become her rock. A healthy partnership thrives when both people are rocks for each other, not doormats. Number 4. The second Stoic secret. Break unrealistic expectations with acceptance. The second pattern we have to dare to break is one that's woven into our culture, the fairy tale expectation. It's the idea that a relationship should be the source of unending happiness, and that a partner's main job is to create a life free from pain or friction. This is a recipe for misery. No person can carry the burden of being another's sole source of joy. This expectation turns relationships into a constant performance. Did you anticipate her needs? Did you say the right thing? Did you plan the perfect date? When you inevitably fail because you're human, it's seen as a failure of love. It's a game you can't win. The more you try to meet these impossible standards, the more you reinforce them. Stoicism offers a liberating alternative: acceptance. Specifically, the idea of amor fati, or loving one's fate. This doesn't mean being a passive doormat. It means embracing reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It means knowing that hardship and imperfection aren't bugs in the system. They're features of being alive. Your role isn't to build her a fantasy world. It's to be the man who can face the real world, sharp edges and all, without flinching. You break her unrealistic expectations by living this acceptance. How does this look? You stop apologizing for reality. If it rains on a picnic you planned, you don't act like you personally failed. You laugh and say, "Well, looks like reality has other plans. Let's make the best of it." You find the opportunity in the obstacle. When she's facing a challenge, you don't immediately try to fix it. After applying the Stoic pause, you might say, "That's a tough situation. I have total faith in you to handle it." You communicate your belief in her strength, not your need to rescue her. This reframes the dynamic from us against your problem to I'm here to support you as you conquer your problem. This applies to the relationship itself. You accept that you'll both make mistakes. When conflict happens, you don't see it as a catastrophe. You see it as a chance to practice virtue, to communicate honestly, listen with empathy, and resolve things with reason. You accept that a relationship isn't a place to hide from life's problems, but a partnership to face them together. By doing this, you're breaking the fantasy. This can be jarring for someone used to being coddled. She might even resist, accusing you of not caring enough to make things perfect. But what you're really showing her is a more resilient kind of love. You're replacing the fragile love of a fairy tale with the unbreakable acceptance of reality. A relationship built on fantasy shatters at the first touch of reality. A relationship built on a shared, courageous acceptance of reality can withstand almost anything. You're no longer the magician trying to pull a rabbit from a hat. You're the partner who, when the storm hits, looks her in the eye and says, "We'll face this together." So, what does this mean for you? It means shifting from being a reactive player in her life to a stable, centered architect of your own. It's a fundamental change. If you're ready to stop auditioning for her approval and start leading your own life, comment, "I lead the frame," below. Let's build a community of men committed to this path. Visit the community on thestoiccouple.podia.com. Number 5. Break dependency by embodying purpose. The dynamic of the fixer and the broken isn't a partnership. It's a hierarchy of dependency. It can mimic a parent-child relationship, and while that might feel safe for a moment, it's poison for passion and mutual respect. A woman might love a father figure, but desire is drawn to an equal. To build a relationship of equals, you have to break this cycle of dependency. You don't do this by withdrawing support or becoming cold. You do it by shifting the center of gravity in your own life. You have to become a man so rooted in your own purpose and principles that her dependency has nothing left to cling to. The Stoics gave us a great framework for this. The 4 virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are a practical guide to living a life of integrity. By making these your focus, you naturally break the dependency cycle. Let's break them down. First, wisdom. Here, wisdom is about navigating life with reason, not being jerked around by fleeting emotions. A wise man makes decisions based on his principles, not on a desire for approval. You stop asking, "What will make her happy right now?" and start asking, "What is the right thing to do?" You stop outsourcing your decisions to her emotional state. This forces a baseline of respect for your judgment. Second, courage. Courage isn't being fearless. It's doing the right thing even when you're afraid. In a relationship, this means having the tough conversations. It means setting and enforcing boundaries calmly and firmly. The fixer is often terrified of conflict, so he avoids it and lets resentment build. A man of courage says, "We need to talk. When you did X, it wasn't acceptable to me." He does it without anger, but with calm resolve. This breaks the unwritten rule that her comfort is more important than your self-respect. It teaches her that you're a man who respects himself enough to hold the line. Third, justice. This is about fairness, honesty, and integrity. The fixer often operates from a place of small injustices. He uses white lies to avoid a fight. He placates to keep the peace, even when it's dishonest. A just man is committed to the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. This breaks the pattern of fake communication and builds real trust. She learns that your words mean something because they align with your principles. Finally, temperance. This is self-control and moderation. The fixer is intemperate. He overgives his time and energy. The man practicing temperance knows his own limits. He doesn't pour from an empty cup. He has his own hobbies and friendships. He isn't available 24/7. His no is just as firm as his yes. This self-control breaks the assumption that she has unlimited access to you. It makes your time valuable, a gift freely given, not an obligation to be extracted. When you live by these virtues, you become a man of substance. Your life has its own powerful structure. You are no longer a crutch for her to lean on. You are a mountain. She can choose to climb the mountain with you and be inspired by its strength, but she cannot move it. This doesn't push her away. It gives her something to admire and respect. You break her dependency on you by giving her the best inspiration possible, the example of a man living a life of purpose. Number 6, break intimacy barriers with honest vulnerability. Now we get to the most advanced and maybe the most misunderstood secret. A lot of guys hear Stoic, Rock, or Unshakable, and they think it means being an emotionless robot. They build a fortress around their heart and call it strength. But a fortress is also a prison. It keeps others out, but it also traps you inside, alone. That isn't Stoicism. That's fear pretending to be in control. Real strength, the kind that creates incredible intimacy, lies in having the courage to be vulnerable. But this is a very specific type of vulnerability. It's not the needy, insecure vulnerability of the fixer who emotionally dumps on his partner looking for reassurance. That's just another form of dependency. This is what you could call Stoic vulnerability. It's the act of sharing your inner world with honesty and ownership from a position of strength, not from a place of need. The typical nice guy is afraid to show any emotion that isn't accommodating. The pseudo-Stoic is afraid to show any emotion at all. Both are hiding. Both are preventing true connection. Radical honesty, guided by Stoic principles, is what breaks this barrier of superficiality. It's the willingness to speak your truth without blame or drama. Let's make it practical. Imagine she has a habit you find disrespectful, like always being late. The fixer says nothing and just stews in resentment. The aggressive guy explodes. The man practicing Stoic vulnerability would choose a calm moment and communicate with radical honesty. He might say something like this: "Can I share something with you? When we make plans for 7 key and you arrive at 7:30, I feel disrespected. The story I tell myself is that my time isn't valuable to you. I want to be clear that this is a pattern I can't continue to be okay with. I value you, and I need to feel that our commitments are valued in return." Let's analyze that. It's a masterclass in healthy communication. It uses I statements, owning the feeling, I feel disrespected. It doesn't accuse you are disrespectful. It clearly states the boundary, I can't continue to be okay with this. It's calm and rational, not explosive. It connects the boundary to his own self-worth. It's vulnerable because he's sharing that he feels hurt, but it's strong because it's attached to a firm, reasonable boundary. This is the kind of communication that breaks the cycle of games and unspoken resentments. It pushes the relationship into deeper, more authentic territory. You're laying your cards on the table, not as a threat, but as an invitation for her to meet you in a place of mutual respect. You're showing that you're safe enough to be honest with, which in turn creates a space where she can be honest and vulnerable back. This is the ultimate paradox. The man who is most in control of his own emotions is the only one who can truly afford to be vulnerable. The man who is strong enough to not need her validation is the only one who can receive her true self. By daring to break the silence with your truth, you invite her to take off her own armor. You show her that real intimacy isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about having the courage to be real with each other. That's the foundation of a love that can actually last. Number 7, the future self. Vision. The man you become. Let's just take a second and picture the man who integrates these ideas. Who is he? What does it feel like to be around him? He's not cold or domineering. That's a cheap imitation of strength. The man we're talking about embodies a quiet, unshakable confidence. When he walks into a room, the energy doesn't get tense. It calms down. He's the eye of the storm. His love isn't a desperate performance for approval. It's a conscious choice, offered from a place of abundance, not need. He doesn't need her to complete him because he's already working on being whole. He is on his own path, guided by his principles, and his invitation to her is to walk beside him as an equal. He doesn't try to fix her because he knows she isn't broken. He sees her struggles not as flaws, but as chances for her to build her own strength. He won't do her push-ups for her, but he'll be there, holding a space of unwavering belief that she can do them herself. He doesn't break her spirit. He breaks the unhealthy patterns that held both of them hostage. He communicates with a calm, deliberate honesty. His words carry weight because they aren't used to manipulate, but to reveal the truth. He can be vulnerable without being needy and strong without being oppressive. He sets boundaries not to push her away, but to protect the mutual respect that intimacy needs to survive. This is the kind of man a woman doesn't just love, but deeply respects. She respects his purpose, his calm, his courage, and his refusal to play childish games. His presence in her life doesn't make her weaker. It inspires her to become stronger and more fully herself. He is not her savior, he is her greatest champion. In short, the journey we've talked about today isn't easy. It's not a list of tricks or tactics. It's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. It requires you to stop looking outside for validation and to start building an unshakable inner core. The ultimate truth is you can't change her. You can only ever change yourself. But when you do, when you become this calm, centered man of purpose, you change the entire dynamic of every relationship you're in. You stop looking for the woman who will make you happy and become the man who creates his own meaning. And in a powerful paradox, that is when you become the kind of man a high-value, healthy woman is drawn to. Not because you're trying to win her, but because you've already won the far more important battle, the one with yourself. This was never about breaking her. It has always been about breaking the weaker version of yourself to let the stronger man emerge. If this message resonated with you and you're ready to keep building a life of purpose and strength, subscribe to this channel. We're all about content that challenges you to become the best version of yourself. And be sure to click here to watch our next video, The 7 Stoic Signs She Genuinely Respects You, to see the powerful results of this inner work. The journey starts now. See you in the next video.